Hi there. If you're here, it's because you want to know how best to onboard your model. It's a key step in getting your model organized and productive. In this video, you'll get a solid plan for moving forward quickly and getting concrete results at the very start of your model's launch. We're going to start from the premise that your model doesn't have an Onlyfans or a fan slide. So at this point, it's really important to get the contract signed. In fact, I've put the contract on my free Telegram, which you can access via the link in the video description. The model has to fill in the information form about her profile, so there's a free one on my Telegram. Find a niche and I'll let you go to my Telegram for a complete list of all the niches you can run with your model. So it's super important to find the niche because that's what's really going to be the roots of your marketing and its persona. And it's hyper important for a model to be nested so that it's rare and unique, so that it stands out from the rest. You'll need to create several things, including a Gmail for this model, which will encompass all the tools you'll be using around this model. You'll also need to create an OnlyFans or Fanslide account. It's up to you. Verify the OnlyFans or Fanslide account, so you'll have to let the model do the rest. Create a bank account for the model in his or her name. What would be interesting is for you to have access to this bank account so that you can manage transactions and accounting much more efficiently. So on OnlyFans, you can create a Paxum account directly. It's pretty quick, efficient. And on top of that, the fees are really cheap compared to Skrill. When it comes to exchanging media, even messages, etc., you'll need to use Telegram exclusively. Make sure you use Telegram exclusively. It's much faster, much smoother than WhatsApp or any other communication app. Personally, I work exclusively with Telegram with all my models. And also make sure you do several types of checks, whether it's Reddit, etc. Now we assume that the model already has an OnlyFans or Fansly page, so obviously you have to sign the contract, you have to fill in the model profiling form. So that's super important so that you actually have a persona around her. Have the logins, of course, so you can access your OnlyFans and Fansly pages directly. And even in relation to social networks, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, and so on, you really have to insist on this, but normally she'll give it to you without too much begrudging. Changing bank details to a new account is also preferable, of course, but if you see that the model is making a point of not changing the RIB and continuing transactions with her own bank account, you'll give up, but preferably create a secondary bank account for the model to which you have access to manage transactions, as this is much more efficient from an accounting point of view. Clean up your OnlyFans, Fansly, and social network accounts, i.e. delete content that isn't of good quality. In short, you're going to do some sorting work to clean all this up and make all these pages super attractive. You're also going to review the niche because generally speaking, the models who get picked up by agencies aren't optimized for a niche, they're just pretty girls. So obviously pretty girls aren't enough. The girl has to be niche. She has to have a real persona to stand out. And make sure you do all kinds of checks related to this model. Then, in relation to marketing content, you're generally going to use 4 acquisition channels. So namely TikTok, dating app, Instagram, and Reddit. For TikTok, you're going to have to train the model a little on the app. There, you can take her directly into code to coach her on how to make great trends, to know a minimum of how TikTok's algorithm works, so that she's aware that what she's doing serves a purpose. That when you ask her to do something, it serves a purpose. You need to send her examples of trends in PDF format, and the same goes for hashtags. You also need to work on her outfits. So explain to her what types of outfits are prohibited by TikTok and what types are encouraged. You'll also need to work on live shows, explaining how to make a good live show and so on. In short, you're going to train the model from A to Z on TikTok so that she can be as autonomous as possible on that, and you can focus on other acquisition channels that require quite a lot of work, in fact. With regard to Instagram too, you're going to need a maximum amount of lifestyle content, so photos, videos, stories, and so on. In short, whatever you can find, whatever the model can send you, and whether it's quality content, of course, you need to have it to be able to publish it. Having as much content as possible in relation to the niche in question is also super important. For example, if you niche your model around flight attendants, etc., make sure you have a little bit of content around that niche. Why not travel content on airplanes, etc.? In short, make sure you still have some, shall we say, continuity with the niche on Instagram. It's hyper important. So If you ever see that it's complicated to get quality content in quantity with your model, you can use AI directly for photos. I'll put a link below this video so that you can actually use this AI to generate lifestyle photos or simple photos with your model's physique, which is pretty handy when you need to send out content pretty quickly. So, of course, the AI is very realistic. It really does look like real photos, so there's nothing to worry about. Then, with regard to the dating app, you need as many lifestyle photos as possible to present the model on the dating app so that she looks attractive. She can also take selfie photos, normal photos. There's nothing to worry about. You can, of course, use AI for these types of photos, but be aware that this will require you to check with the model quite simply. So, you need to prepare quite a few photos in advance and also be ready to ensure that the model can do the verification directly with the phone, in which case you use the dating app with the phones directly. Then, in relation to Reddit, you'll need to work in-house to find subreddits that match your model's niche and physique, of course. So you've obviously got a lot to choose from. You're bound to find subreddits that correlate with your model, don't worry. You can, of course, send a PDF of all the content for your model so that she can see what poses to take, etc., in relation to the subreddits in question. I'd strongly recommend that you do this because at least it makes her autonomous and she can do it whenever she wants and whenever she can. So rather than sending her a message, at least you can send her images as examples, which is much more meaningful. Then, of course, you have to do Reddit checks for each subreddit. Usually, subreddits require verification with a photo of the model in question, with a crumpled piece of paper, as well as his or her username, the date, and the subreddit in question. You'll need to be prepared for this too, as it's something you'll need to do in advance to gain access to these subreddits. So that's it for marketing content. Now we're going to look at the content you'll find on Onlyfans and Fansly. In relation to this, you'll need 100 media for the feed, i.e. media that will reflect a different mood, etc. For example, media in the kitchen. For example, media in the kitchen, media in the bedroom, media in the living room, bathroom, etc. with different venues, with different underwears. This will add richness to your posts and feeds, so it's really important to do this. You can, of course, mix photos and videos. When it comes to photos and videos, make sure you only have hot content, not sexual content. No visible tits, nipples, vaginas, etc. in photos. Everything has to be censored with emojis or just photos in underwear. This works very well, so make sure you have at least 10 different scripts. So again, on my Telegram, you'll find an example of a script that you can use in terms of structure. It can help you a lot and save a lot of time. So a script is an illusion that you're sending media directly to your fan and that this media is made on the instant. For example, you have scripts that reflect the model who watches Netflix. So you make it look like you're watching Netflix, chatting with your subscriber, and then, little by little, you send him content, media related to the fact of watching Netflix, with always a little Netflix screen behind, etc., so that it looks like it's being done at the moment, but in fact it's prepared in advance. That's why it's so important to have scripts prepared in advance, so that you can offer as many stories as possible to your subscribers and capitalize on them as much as possible. You can also have photos and videos for push media. This is really important. Push media will enable you to send mass messages to all your fans, so you can do that 3-4 times a week, and it actually allows you to have passive income without going through chatting directly. So, generally speaking, you're still going to have fans who will buy this type of push media. Don't worry, it's something that works. Now, you have to work on it with a nice storytelling behind it, with a nice photo to present the push in question and so on. So these are things to work on, but of course you can already work on the content by asking your model for 50 photos and 50 videos. Next, you need different vocals to warm up the audience. In this case, you're going to need vocals that talk a lot about your subscribers' dicks, that ask for dick pics, that say how hot the model is tonight, and so on. In short, you need as many different vocals as possible so that when you're chatting with your audience, you can heat them up. In fact, it's very important to renew these vocals to avoid sending the same ones. So make sure you renew all your content so you have an excellent turnover. So, of course, you can send a PDF with all the details for the model so that he can be autonomous on this and so that he can really know in images what to do, etc. So it's really important to make as much content as possible to have an excellent foundation so that the model can focus on other points later on. For example, marketing content, etc. These things are also very time consuming. So to make the content, what do you need for the model? Let's talk about tools, the essential tools that the model must have. So ring light is really important. So why ring light? In fact, ring light will erase any flaws in your model's skin and give a much clearer appearance. So it's very important that the model has a ring light. You can buy ring lights on Amazon. In fact, I've put a link in my Telegram to some very good quality, very well-made ring lights that you can use. She also needs to find the right photo angles, i.e. every person who takes a photo has a good angle. It can be from the front, a little in profile, etc. Together with the model, you have to find the angles that are the most photogenic for her so that she can reuse them later on in her photo and create incredible content. It's very important to find the right angle for the model, and it's something that agencies don't do very often. The background has to be clean. There can't be anything lying around. There can't be any knickers lying around, no socks, no dirty dishes, etc. In short, the background has to be really clean. In short, the backgrounds really must be tidy and spotless. Use a high quality camera for photos, i.e. an excellent phone. So maybe invest in a phone that's recent enough for the model so she can make quality content, have nice underwear. So generally speaking, the models you're going to recruit already have fine lingerie with her, but it's possible that from time to time you'll come across, for example, I'm thinking of Latinas, etc., or Colombians who don't necessarily have the basic means to have fine lingerie. You can invest in that. It's not very expensive. Of course, the audios I mentioned earlier have to be of very high quality. And then there's the photo content with good quality. So you need a good phone, of course, to produce excellent vocals. So avoid having the vocals done outside. Avoid having background noise from television or music. In short, the vocals really need to have only the model's voice in good quality on them. Now, we're going to have to anticipate things that are essential for the duration of your collaboration with your model, namely her mindset. So it's really important to coach your model a little so that she realizes that everything you're going to do is for the long term. In fact, it's really important to have this approach because as soon as the model has a mindset that's a little like yours, she'll understand you better and you'll have better team synergy. So it's really important to coach the model a little in terms of her mindset. As I said before, always communicate on Telegram. You can of course upload the content to Google Drive afterwards, or she can do it herself. Of course, you have to train the model, so we're going back a little to all the content marketing, etc. The model has to know where she can find it. The model needs to know where it's going and why you're asking it to do this. It's really important, so at least she'll find it useful. So really train your model, explain to her how it's going to work and so on. Obviously make it as simple as possible. Try to have at least 3 months of programming in terms of content, etc., so that you can make financial and even marketing forecasts. So try to program as much as possible for as long as possible. It's essential. I'll repeat once again why we ask for so much content. It's very important to explain this to your model. If your model asks you why we're asking for so much all at once, you tell her, we're doing the foundations for now, and then we'll take care of the marketing. Foundations take time. To have a good foundation and focus on marketing, we need as much content as possible. Now, here's a little bonus I'm going to introduce to you, red flags. This will help you avoid wasting time with a model. If you see that there are too many red flags in relation to this model, I strongly advise you not to work with it or to exchange it. If the model is unstable, for example, if she doesn't show up for the camera interview, or if she talks incoherently, which is very complicated for long-term collaboration, it's a sign of immaturity. And what we want is to collaborate with mature people who have a long-term view of the business. If you see that the model is always late, whether it's for the school or for sending out content, that it always sends out content even a week late, it's very complicated to collaborate with it over the long term because in fact you're not going to be able to make any marketing forecasts. It's very complicated to work with this type of model. You have to work on it, of course. You can tell him to make an effort because we've got forecasts to make. If you see that it's still dragging on, it's better to get rid of it a little. High response time. If you ever find that she's still answering 10, 20 or even 5 hours later, she's dead, too annoying to work with. You need someone who's responsive, someone who responds quickly, so you can work quickly. If you see that your model simply doesn't listen to what you're telling her to do, if you've sent her a PDF with examples of photos to make and she sends you photos where it's the exact opposite, then there's a listening problem and maybe even an authority problem. I don't know. But in any case, it's not a model that in the long term you're going to be able to scale with easily. Maybe you'll part with her if you ever see that she's not listening at all. And if you also see that she doesn't like criticism, has an overinflated ego, categorically refuses to let anyone question her current Instagram page, and so on, it's downright impossible to improve, because as long as she doesn't know she's made mistakes beforehand, you can't improve all that. It's very complicated to work with a model who refuses criticism and maybe even doesn't hear it. That's all for this module. Feel free to drop a like if you liked it. I'll see you next time. See you.